Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome into the Attack on Titan full blue set breakdown. We've officially got the full English set list for all the Attack on Titan cards, so if you haven't seen it already, I've already got the red breakdown up in another video with the starter deck as well, so definitely check that out. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So the blue set here is going to be pretty much broken up into two different decks for the most part. We've got the Levi deck with Captain Erwin, playing with a really unique playstyle of having abilities that restand your action points during your attack phase, and then you have other cards that get extra abilities if you spend an action point during your attack phase. On top of that, this Levi raid card here with this insane double attack into snipe, allowing you to get a full like 3 attacks off in a turn. It is looking pretty crazy for sure. He's got a 6 cost though, so we got to ramp up, but this Captain Erwin card is generating energy. Looks like a really cool deck. We're going to start with that one. And then the other deck is based around Historia and Ymir, essentially just a whole lot of draw power, really low-cost cards, which is nice, and a little bit of deck organization as well. This raid card here getting more abilities off based off of the more event cards in your sideline, and the event cards are pretty solid in this set for sure, a few different options. So yeah, this could be a pretty solid deck, a very consistent deck. Again, the less demanding it is with like the highest cost being a 4, the more consistent it's going to be, I feel like. So not the worst deck at all. It looks pretty promising, but I will say this Levi deck looks like it's going to be pretty disgusting if it rolls out well, if it plays well. But yeah, diving into the Levi raid card here, the main card the whole deck is based around, this card looks pretty crazy. So it's a 6 cost raid. Once per turn, at the end of this character's attack, you may pay 1 action point, and if you do, you can switch this character to active. And again, there's going to be a few different effects that you have that basically give you an action point more or less for free during your attack phase. Just keep that in mind so you don't have to save action points for your attack phase. But saving them for the attack phase just from the 3 you start with could happen sometimes for sure. But regardless, he's got a pretty crazy when played ability. This is just once per turn until the end of the turn, keep that in mind. But when played, he gains 1,000, making him a 5k till the end of the turn. He's going to gain double attack, and then he also gains this ability. When this character attacks a 3rd time this turn, it gains snipe. So essentially what you're trying to do with this card is the turn you play it, get obviously the double attack off, and then after the double attack is over, if he's still alive, hopefully doesn't die from a special or something attacking, you use that once per turn ability to pay an action point, restand him, and then now for that 3rd attack, you're going to have snipe, which allows you to obviously take out somebody on their field. So yeah, really nice card, and the way it's set up is really cool too. You don't have to pay the action point until you know that Levi is safe and ready to restand. For example, because the once per turn says at the end of this character's attack, you can see what the trigger is on your opponent's end before you pay that action point for this ability. But yeah, this card looks pretty crazy. 6 cost is going to be a little high to pay, but again, with the Erwin that we're going to dive into, as well as some other energy generating cards, you should be able to play this pretty consistently. And yeah, again, this card, it just looks crazy. 3 attacks ending with snipe, it's going to be strong. And then we've got this Erwin card here that you're definitely going to want to run in the deck to help you play the Levi more consistently. He's only a 3 cost, which is crazy. When played, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Levi, add it to your hand, place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck, and then if you did take a card, sideline a card. Then you got an active main once per turn. Pay 1 action point. This character is going to gain an extra energy generation, generating 3 energy until the end of the turn. And then at the start of your attack phase, you get to choose 1 of your action points and switch it to active. So basically, if you're short on energy for whatever reason and you want to pop that in order to play Levi, you know, it is going to be unfortunate that you have to pay that 1 action point, but you are going to get the action point back during the attack phase. And then he's got the active 3k trigger for defense. 2500 BP isn't the craziest, but again, he's going to be our energy generator for the most part. But yeah, alongside the Levi raid card here, we've got a few other Levi cards that are actually going to benefit from you having an action point to spend during the attack phase, so you're not just doing that whole gimmick ability for the raid card. But we got this Levi card here, 4 cost. If on the front line at the start of your attack phase, if this character is active, choose up to 1 of your action points and switch it to active. So yeah, you can basically use a card like this if he set up the turn before to push him to the front line, and essentially get a free action point restand for the attack phase, which is really cool. When attacking, you may pay 1 action point. If you do, choose up to 1 character on your field, it gains 1,000, and this character cannot be chosen by your opponent's trigger abilities until the end of the turn. So like in a dream scenario, you play this guy the turn before rested. Once he's active, move him to the front line when you're able to raid your 6 cost Levi raid. You attack with this guy first, spend that action point, and now your Levi raid card can't be specialed. He can't be hit by like the yellow color trigger to be rested. Essentially just the active triggers that you need to worry about that at that point. Which, funny enough, there's a Mikasa card in this deck that deals with that, but we'll take a look at that real quick. But yeah, again, nothing's too crazy to depend on. But regardless, it's crazy what you can do to your opponent's triggers for sure. But yeah, really great card to have here. Again, the best part is the if on the front line, in my opinion. He gets to essentially restand one of your action points for free. Really cool to see. Add to hand trigger as well with a 4K BP, so great card for sure. And you can raid on top of him if you really needed to. You're probably trying to avoid doing that, but yeah, it's an option. But since I mentioned it, and I'm not really sure exactly which deck she is meant to go into, you could probably put her in either deck and she'll do pretty good. 4 cost, 2 action point Mikasa. Your opponent cannot activate active abilities during trigger checks resulting from damage dealt by this character, and when played, choose up to 1 character with 4K or less BP on your opponent's front line and return it to their hand. Again, she's got the 2 action point cost, but she could play really well into just not allowing your opponent to stop Levi from just slaughtering everything. She's got the active trigger, which is really good for defense, and she's a 4K body. So, again, a little high cost to pay with the 2 action points, but I think this card is very justified for that for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I brought it up. So back to the Levi's here. 2 cost to Levi. This is going to be your color trigger for the deck. When attacking, you may pay 1 action point. If you do, draw a card and give this character 1000 BP until the end of the turn, making him a 4K. So a very good card to have, especially for 2. And again, you're not like wasting those action point abilities. The draw is fantastic, and he becomes a 4K on attack, raid target, etc. Very, very good color trigger to have for sure. And then a 1 cost to Levi. When attacking, you may pay 1 action point. If you do, draw a card and give this character 500 BP till the end of the turn, making him a 3K. He does not have a trigger, but again, if you are just trying to look for ways to draw and spend those action point abilities because you're playing the cards anyways, yeah, you know, Levi's there, this Levi's there to do his thing. Again, no trigger kind of sucks, but he's a raid target at the end of the day, so that's fine. 1 to ramp us up. And then we've got our generic add to hand 0 cost Levi, so we can hopefully raid on top of him later if he comes out of life. And then real quick, just jumping over to the starter deck exclusive cards before I forget, we do have a Levi raid card and an Erwin card. Quick thing, if you didn't know, starter decks now come with promo packs, and in the promo packs you get 1 of each of the cards available. So you'll get 1 Levi, 1 Erwin, and 2 of the other their green cards. I'm not sure exactly which ones yet. But either way, yeah, you'll need like the full 4 play set from starter decks if you're curious for these 2 specific cards. And the Levi looks pretty good, especially the Erwin too, but especially this Levi. They both look pretty nice. Either way, real quick, 5 cost to Levi. This is going to be a raid. When played, choose up to 1 character with 2500 or more BP on your opponent's front line, and it'll lose 2k until the end of the turn. And then when attacking, you can pay 1 action point. If you do, choose a character with 2k or less BP on your opponent's front line and return it to their hand. So again, using one of those action point abilities to remove a body from the field and set up a removal on a 4k when played for free. Really strong raid card here. It even has the raid out of life trigger too. I don't know if that would be the best thing, but it could be really good for defense with this one played in case, you know, it prevents you from taking a whole nother life because he has a 4k attacker or something. Could be good. But yeah, starter deck exclusive. You only get 1 per starter deck. And then 3 cost Erwin. If on the front line at the start of your attack phase, if this character is active, choose 1 of your action points and switch it to active. So again, just like that Levi card, another card that gives you a free action point restand during your attack phase. Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably a must run of 4 of if you can get him in there. I was looking at like builds on the deck and stuff, and there's just like a lot of options to choose from, but this has got to be like a 3 or a 4 of. This guy's amazing. Anything that gives you that action point restand for free, if you can set him up the turn before, of course, because he does need to be active. Again, it could snowball into some insane turns for sure. And then when attacking, you can actually pay 1 action point with this character, and if you do, he's going to gain 500 till the end of the turn, making him a 4k, which could come in handy. Then a draw trigger as well. So yeah, the 2 starter deck exclusive cards, I would definitely say the Levi is a must-have, but I mean the Erwin is too. Like, again, free action point restands for attacking is going to be so nice. And then this card looks really, really good for the deck here. 3 cost Petra. When played at the start of your attack phase this turn, choose up to 1 of your action points and switch it to active. And she's a double energy generator. So obviously no trigger is not a great thing to see, but she's just straight up, you play her, energy generator, and you are getting 1 action point back during your attack phase. So really, really cool card to see for the deck. And then we've got our 0 cost Oro Bozad, I think his name might be. He is our generic switch to resting. He'll generate 2, and then during or after the main phase, you have to sideline him. Could be good because, you know, we do have the big cost raid cards to get out. But in my opinion, cards like this 0 cost are definitely going to be a lot better. 0 cost Eld during your turn. If you paid an action point during the attack phase, this character gains 2000 BP. It's making him a 3500 with an active trigger as well. This card looks really, really strong because again, the whole gimmick here. Almost every turn, I imagine, you're trying to at least get one of those action point abilities off for the most part, or if it's all going right, you're going to. So having this 0 cost card that you just played at the start to get the game going, now on the front line swinging for 3,500, not bad at all. Then we've got a Hang Zoe card here, 3 cost. When played, you may choose one active Inheritor of the Titan or Pure Titan affinity card on your field, or your opponent's field, and switch it to resting. If you do, the player whose character was switched to resting with this ability draws a card. So yeah, you could honestly use this card to just straight up, when played, rest one of your opponent's attacking cards. Especially in like a rare battle, I could see this card going crazy. But to your own benefit, if you're not trying to have your opponent draw cards, this other blue deck here is pretty stacked with Inheritor of the Titan cards that you could include in here. Some Erins over here, obviously the Ymirs. So, I mean, you could put this in your own deck and not only help you in offense by, you know, resting your opponent's blockers, but you could also use this to get free draws just by cards on your energy line or something, resting a card that was never going to do anything that turn anyways. Yeah, not a bad card. No, you know, trigger would be nice, but 3K, not terrible, not terrible. Again, in like a rare battle though for Attack on Titan, you know, like green Titans are going to be there. Hang Zoes, just to get some nice rests in. That could be kind of cool. And then most of the event cards here are, I imagine, made to be ran with the Historia deck, but you could definitely put them in your deck and do some stuff. I mean, obviously, Levi's Barrage is going to be the special for Levi's deck. The generic, nothing special, but a good special. Sideline a 3K, or if you have a Levi on your field, sideline a 5K or less instead. Great special to have, just nothing new. We do have this 2-cost event card here that I'm very curious if people are going to be running in both decks. This 2-cost Bombs, choose up to one character with 3,500 or less on your opponent's front line and return it to their hand. So, I mean, it's essentially just a straight-up removal. And again, with that Levi card, he is 3 attacks in 1. Snipe or no snipe, if there's no bodies, he's still taking a life. So, you know, removing all of your opponent's bodies one way or another, you know, I'm just saying that could be pretty crazy for sure. But yeah, very curious if this card is going to be ran. It doesn't have a trigger, obviously, so that doesn't make it look good, but 2 cost, 3,500 removal, that could make for some crazy plays, definitely. And then there is this cleanup card here that definitely would not be terrible to run, maybe even just like a 2 of. 3 cost, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place any number of them on the top of your deck in any order, place any of the remaining cards into your sideline, and then just straight up draw 2 cards. It also has the active 3K defensive trigger. It's definitely, you know, more helpful in the Historia deck, or, you know, runs better with that theme that they're doing. But regardless, it's a deck organization draw 2, so not the worst event card to maybe have 2 of if you need. This memory card here too isn't terrible. It's 2 costs, draw a card, then trash a card into your sideline, and then just straight up return one of your action points to active with a draw trigger. I'm curious if this is going to be seen as more valuable just because it's a free draw trash, just straight up. You could essentially look at this as now your deck has like 46 cards in it, essentially, because it's just always going to be a free draw trash. Very interesting. Again, both these event cards are going to play a lot better in the Historia deck, but wouldn't be surprised to see them in the Levi deck at all. Oh, and then obviously your final for the set, 3 cost. You call that clean, do it all again. If you don't know, choose 2 action points, restand them, but you do have to pay 1. Yeah, anyways, very, very good looking deck here. I guess, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I guess you could slap this in there as well, but again, this will be our segue into the Historia deck, because I feel like this is definitely made to be played in there. 3 cost, former headquarters of the Scout Regiment. Active main, switch to resting, reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card is a blue character with 3 or less energy, add it to your hand, and if not, add it to the top of your deck. With the add to hand trigger, again, even if you're just putting 1 or 2 of these in your Levi deck, I mean, I guess you do have some pretty high cost cards in here, but at the same time, it's really just these 2 Levi's and then your raid card. Technically in the Levi deck, there's only 3 cards that are above 3. Now, it does have to be a character card, keep that in mind. It's not just any blue 3 or less card. But again, it definitely made to be played in the Historia deck, but wouldn't be surprised to see it help in the Levi deck at some point. But yeah, now diving into the Historia deck here. Again, most of the deck pretty much based around Historia and Ymir. Reorganizing your deck, trying to get a lot of draws off, hopefully free draws, free plays, filling your sideline with event cards so you can get some insane plays off with this card. And yeah, we'll start out with the raid because this card looks pretty stupid if you can set it up early. 4 cost, which is also nice. I think the 4 cost is going to be your highest cost in the Historia deck, so keep that in mind. That is a benefit. 4 cost Historia, raid. This character gains all the abilities listed below if you have the required number of event cards in your sideline. If you have 2 or more when attacking, you can choose a 104th court affinity card on your field, and it'll gain 1 KBP till the end of the turn. This one looks amazing. 4 or more event cards in your sideline. Active main if this card's on the front line once per turn. If you have used an event card this turn, choose one of your action points and switch it to active. So just straight up with a final, for example, that restands action points, she's making that final a 2 action point restander for free, essentially. Yeah, could be an insane ability that allows you to do some big plays, big snowballs, but again, you gotta get 4 event cards in the sideline to do that. And then if you're at 6 or more, you are going to get impact as well. Obviously more for a late game, but once the impact comes online and your opponent has like 1 or 2 life, it's pretty terrifying. Add to hand or raid out of life trigger, and honestly, you're not really losing anything raiding her out of life, so yeah, not a bad body to play for free. 4k BP, yeah, again, if you can set this card up and with the right help that it has, it could look pretty nice. And then we have the raid cards for Historia, 3 cost. If a character with Ymir in its card name is on your field, this character will gain 500, making her a 3 KBP. And then when played, if you've used an event card during this turn, choose up to 1 of your action points and switch it to active. And you can only use this ability once per turn, even on multiple Historias, just keep that in mind. But yeah, essentially if you use an event card at any point during that turn, you make her a free play, which could, again, set you up and snowball you into some really big turns. She's going to be the color trigger for the set, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to run her instead of the Levi's if you're thinking about choosing between the 2. And then we have 1 cost Historia here. When played, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place them at the top of your deck in any order. But if you have a character with Ymir in its card name on the field, you can actually place them on the top of your deck in any order, or you can place them into your sideline. So if you see 2 really bad cards, you can just sideline them instead. Or if you see 1 you want to keep, 1 you want to trash, again, great for deck filtration. No trigger, but it seems like we're seeing, this is so consistent. Pretty solid effects on 1 cost cards that are raid targets as well, but they don't have a trigger. So I think that's going to be a new constant for like the ones. And then we have 0 cost Historia. This is going to be our generic add to hand for our raid later on. 4 cost Ymir, the Jaw Titan. It's a raid card. When attacking once per turn, you get to draw a card and then trash a card. And then if you have 6 or more event cards in your sideline, you can actually set this card back to active. So yeah, getting 2 attacks in a turn eventually, this deck can definitely lay on some crazy pressure later on. Add to hand or raid out of life trigger, which we always love with the 4k BP. And again, both of these raid cards, you can raid them out of life, no problem, and use their abilities just fine the next turn. Again, versus like the Levi, where he has like a when played that goes away that turn. And then yeah, your Ymir raid cards, you're going to have 2 options here. Your 2 costs during your opponent's turn. If Historia is on your field, this character is going to gain 1,000. So 4k blocker at a 2 cost. That's pretty solid, especially if you can get that out pretty early. With the active trigger as well. Seems like the defense in this deck is looking pretty nice. And then we also have the Ymir 0 cost add to hand generic raid target, since we have the raid card here. And then speaking of defense, we do have a double blocker for the deck, 3 cost Jean, who also has the active trigger. So if you don't know, when a deck has so many of the active triggers that you can stack on top of each other, who else has got it? Mikasa, Erwin here, this search card here. But yeah, basically, if you can hit one of those active triggers out of life with a double blocker on your front line, you can target him and make him in this case, 6,500 double blockers. So I've seen it with Hashira with the 4K, I think it was 4K double blocking Rengoku, and a lot of good active trigger options to put into your life. It's not guaranteed, but you can always hope for it for sure. So just keep that in mind. Double blockers set up with a lot of active triggers could go crazy if you get lucky. And then another really good looking card, speaking of active triggers that you're going to probably want to include in this deck, is going to be 3 cost Eren Jaeger, Nullify Impact. When played, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 blue event card among them, add it to your hand, place the rest at the bottom, and then trash a card if you did take one. 3k BP, and yeah, since we're trying to get event cards into our sideline, and just search out hopefully the good event cards, because we went over it, but we'll double check, go over them again. Yeah, there's some really good event cards to grab, so it could be pretty game changing. This site is pretty important. I wish we could grab this with Eren. It'll be very unfortunate if you bottom deck raids and sites with this card. It'll be very unfortunate, but you can grab event cards, and the Nullify Impact could be crazy. So with it all stacked together, just having 2 or 3 of this guy could be really, really nice. And then yeah, we've also got the 2 cost Eren Jaeger, our generic when he's active, generating 2. Not a bad card to have. And there's not a ton of double energy generators. Well, actually, we have this really good Mikasa in this deck. But yeah, I mean, it's a good card in a lot of decks, so don't count it out. This 4-cost Mikasa that we went over, but she's a 2 action point. Your opponent cannot activate active triggers if she triggers them out of their life, and when played, you can return a 4K or less back to your opponent's hand with, again, the active trigger, 4K BP. I'm telling you, you stack all these active triggers with some really good cards. With the double blocker, you know, it's a lot to rely on, don't depend on it, but if it comes into play on the right turns, it could be huge. And then 3-cost Mikasa, this character gains all of the abilities listed below if you have the required number of event cards in your sideline. 2 or more, this character is going to gain double energy generation. 4 or more, this character is going to gain 1000 BP, making her a 4K on attack and defense. So that's going to be really nice. With the draw trigger, again, this whole deck is trying to get event cards into the sideline for the Historia raid. So having a Mikasa that can eventually generate us energy, become a 4K, that is not a bad thing to include at all. And we do have a 0-cost Mikasa card as well. When played, draw, trash a card with a draw trigger. One of my favorite zeros to try to run in every deck, so not a bad one to have at all. And then just some other characters here. The last ones we haven't talked about, 0-cost Sasha. She's going to be Nullify Impact with 2k BP. Again, the defensive part of this deck is looking crazy. Defense in Union Arena is really hard to depend on, but with 2 different Nullify Impactors like this, you really, you know, it's just stuff like that that really stands out, and it's like, okay, this deck might have some defense capabilities for sure. Because if you don't know, impacts can be devastating, so Nullify Impacts can be game-changing. Anyways, 3-cost Connie Springer. This is going to be our generic, if we're playing against a green or a red deck in this case, will cost 2 instead of 3. Double energy generator, 3k BP. Honestly, could be an insane card to run in the Levi deck, especially in rare battles. That's where these cards always shine, because red and green is the other 2 colors of the IP, so in a rare battle, you're at a much higher chance of seeing those colors for sure. So since we're trying to play a card as big as Levi, honestly, I could see this being ran in rare battles for sure. Even just 2 of them or something, or even just all the time, who knows, but definitely rare battles is where these cards shine. And then we have this Armored card here, our generic 1-cost. When played, return a 1 or less to your hand, and if you can't, you have to return this card to your hand. Yeah, not the best, not the worst card, but we do have a lot of good double energy generating options in this deck, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. And then just to touch on these cards again, yeah, I think this Sight card is going to be a must-run in the Historia deck, especially with the deck organization and a lot of this deck. Most of the cards being 3 or less, which, as this card's doing, active main, switch to resting, reveal the top card of your deck, and if the revealed card is a blue character with 3 or less, you can actually add it to your hand for free. Otherwise, it just goes back on the top of your deck, so it's not the most risky card. But it's got the add to hand triggers, so yeah, you run like 3 or 4 of these once you get it set up early. As you saw with like the 1-cost Historia, for example here, you can sort of reorganize your cards. Yeah, could make for some really good plays, and just free draws in general. And then 2-cost Memory, draw a card, and then trash a card, and then choose one of your action points to switch it to active. This card's actually going to have a lot more value in this deck, because what you can do with this card is something that we've seen with like the red Black Clover deck, for example. You can use this Historia main if you're at 4 or more once per turn. If you've used an event card this turn, choose one of your action points to switch it to active. You can honestly use this card as just a straight up get 2 action points. So what you would do is you would use this card, play it for free to restand one of your action points, and then this card was just a free play, right? You didn't technically spend any action points to play it. You did play an event card already this turn, so since you did, you can just restand one of your action points for free. So yeah, you know, you can kind of do that thing that red Black Clover has done and get free action point restands off of a card like this. Keep that in mind. So this Memory card definitely has a lot of value in this deck, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, a free draw trash, just, you know, outside of that doesn't sound bad with a draw trigger. And then this cleanup card here, not a terrible card. Again, it does have the active trigger, which makes it a lot more runnable, and you're trying to get as many event cards into your sideline as possible. So I can definitely see a deck having like 4 of these, 4 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, something like that, 4 of these, 2 of these. It's something along those lines. I can definitely see that happening, just because you need those event cards. If you don't see them, the deck's not flowing. But you don't want too many event cards, otherwise you have no energy to play the game. They don't generate you energy. But regardless, cleanup, you get to look at the top 2 cards, place any of them on the top of your deck or into your sideline, and then draw 2 cards. Yeah, not a bad card, especially with how this deck's playing. Yeah, not bad at all. And then the last card that we're going to go over here, 3-cost Historia's Resolve, the special trigger for the deck. Choose up to 1 character with 2,000 or less BP on your opponent's front line and sideline it. And then if you have Historia on your field, add 1,000 to the range of the character that you choose for each event card in your sideline. So essentially, as long as you've got 2 event cards in your sideline, you can add it to this and choose a 4K at the very least. I did do a quick Google search, and from what AI told me on the quick Google search, and I think it's correct, this card does not count as in your sideline the turn you're playing it, and it makes sense. It doesn't count as in your sideline technically, I imagine, until the effect is fully resolved. So just keep that in mind. The turn you are playing this card, I do not believe it is counting itself as in the sideline. I believe the AI Google search is right, but it makes sense too, so. And then we've got this bombs card here that you could put in there as well. 2 costs, choose a character with 3,500 or less on your opponent's front line, return it to their hand. Again, we've got so many event cards we're already trying to run. Don't put too many event cards in your deck because, again, they don't generate you energy. You will regret it if you draw only event cards some games. But yeah, that is the entire blue Attack on Titan set. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what decks you think are going to be good, or if you're planning on building or playing any of these. Let me know any combos that are coming to mind that seem pretty insane or broken. I think this Levi is going to be a standout, man. I think he's going to be pretty good. Getting off 3 attacks in a turn. Hell, if you double raid in a turn and you're getting off 6 attacks with 2 characters, again, you know, the triggers could stop him, or could they? It's crazy, dude. It's crazy, man. This deck could set up and do some awesome stuff. I'm very curious to see if it's going to be a surprise takeover, sort of like Mustang. And another thing about, you know, this deck in particular and Attack on Titan as a whole, if you don't know, it was not legal at Gen Con where Mustang and Squad Zero was taken over. We'll see where Attack on Titan's looking because it's legal in the next one. The one in Texas, I believe, in Dallas. Dude, yeah, it's going to be very interesting because this deck looks promising. But I'll be honest, man, that Mustang deck and Squad Zero are so consistent. I think that's the one thing that's standing out to me about the Levi deck versus those two is I feel like the Mustang deck and the Squad Zero deck benefit from deck reorganization, pretty simple, easy setup with draw power, mostly having 4 costs and then having like 1 5 cost or 1 5 cost in the deck. Whereas this Levi deck here, you have this 6 cost that you're trying to get out. And yes, you have this Erwin that's generating 3 energy, but if you don't see him, you're going to have to make some decisions for sure. Petra, I don't know if this Mikasa could make it in there. I think this Aaron's going to have more value because you're not trying to put too many event cards in the Levi deck, I feel. And if you don't get 2, she's not generating that. Anyways, you're just hoping to see the Erwin at the end of the day. He's the main source, I feel like, to get Levi out ASAP. But playing a 6 isn't too crazy. We just need maybe just one more solid double energy generating option. Yeah, I got to do some more deck building, but I am excited to see these played for sure. Yeah, once again, appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate all the support on these breakdowns. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.